been honest with the public about UFOs? A panel of 6 former members of Congress is getting an earful in Washington this week about UFO incidents and government secrecy.
Because there is no doubt we are being visited.
Scientist and explorer Dr. Edgar Mitchell, born coincidentally in the UFO hotspot of Roswell, New Mexico, started calling for the disclosure of government UFO files back in the mid-90s. One of his first interviews on the subject was with the I-Team. As the 6th man to walk on the moon, he's an American icon with extensive contacts in the government who've convinced him a UFO cover-up is real. Mitchell says it's time for full disclosure.
And I call upon our government to open up like other governments have, and you will hear about that this morning. Like the Belgians have, the French have, the Brazilians have, the Argentines, the Mexicans have all released their files. It's about time now that we do the same thing.
Mitchell will be one of several heavyweight witnesses who will testify at this week's 5-day UFO disclosure event in Washington. A panel of 6 former members of Congress will hear from and question 40 witnesses, including Paul Hellyer, who was the Minister of Defense for Canada and who's had his own UFO sighting.
To make a plea for full disclosure, because the implications of what has been going on secretly in the last 50 or 60 years are really profound, and most people haven't any idea how important the revelations could be to their future as a species.
One focus of the citizens' hearing will be recent admissions by other governments that there have been secret but ongoing UFO studies by military and intel agencies all over the world. Nick Pope was, for years, the UFO point man for Britain's Ministry of Defense and will testify about the release of his country's once secret files. Canadian nuclear physicist Stanton Friedman will tell the panel about military studies of UFO incidents and attempts to suppress the information, including the infamous Roswell UFO crash case.
The U.S. government has denied the truth to the American people about the ET presence. That's a big deal. It's no longer justified. And so the purpose of this hearing is nothing less than disclosure.
Congress held 2 hearings on UFOs back in the 60s, but the subject has seemed politically toxic since then. Bassett thinks that's not an accident.
The real problem is this, I've said many times. The military intelligence complex has yanked the issue out from under the political leaders. They don't brief them anymore. They don't give them the information, and that's true across the board of many issues.
Tuesday's session focused on one of the most disturbing angles, the intrusion of UFOs over nuclear bases. Former military men stationed at Bentwaters nuke base in England and at missile bases near the Canadian border described chilling incidents in which unknown craft interfered with the launch codes of atomic weapons. Documents squeezed out of the Pentagon show the military long ago considered UFOs to be serious business, but later denied having any interest in the subject.